the beginning of 2024, we announced a global guideline for all parents at Henkel that guarantees a minimum of 8 weeks fully paid gender-neutral parental leave. With this approach, we want to promote gender equality among our workforce. This is an outstanding project and a fantastic benefit for our colleagues. And I'm really proud that we have successfully implemented this initiative in 70 countries already. And today, I have the pleasure to be with some Henkel colleagues, with Victoria, who is, among other topics, responsible for our global diversity strategy at Henkel. But I'm also very pleased to welcome you, Daniel, one of the fathers who has experienced the paternity leave this year. Welcome to both of you. Victoria, I'm going to start with a question for you. How, and can you share that with the colleagues, because I'm sure they're very curious, how did you and your team initially come up with this idea of implementing this gender-neutral parental leave?
Certainly, thank you very much, Sylvie. So, our global DEI team, so that is the team for diversity, equity and inclusion, came up with this idea. And how did they actually come up with concretely this idea? They are in constant and continuous contact actually with the DEI network, which is taking care of our employees worldwide in over 70 countries of our DEI matters, and they are for sure also in contact with our business people. And they are doing focus groups also to get to know what kind of needs our employees have. And based on these different discussions that the team has with our employees, they found out that there are very different starting points in the different regions and countries in terms of our parental leave initiatives. So as you can imagine, there are different Henkel regulations, different legal regulations, but also different types of families that can actually take parental leaves in the different regions. And this really motivated the team, so not only the global DEI team, but the entire DEI network, to implement a global standard, a minimum standard for parental leave for Henkel globally.
Thank you very much. I heard from you putting employee in the center and doing working groups to really understand what's important for them. So let me turn to Daniel, because you are one of these employees, and I'm very curious to know why you decided to take a paternity leave.
Yeah, I think for me personally it was a very easy decision to take, mostly due to the wish to be present and supportive during the early critical time of my child's life, and especially to have the opportunity to bond with my daughter and to support as well my wife in terms of sharing responsibilities in parenthood was something which I really wanted to do, and therefore this was an easy decision actually.
How old is your daughter now?
She's now 8 months old, yeah. So.
Thanks for sharing. What's her name?
Carlotta.
So we're very happy that you could bond with Carlotta, actually, because I think that's exactly one of the benefits of this initiative. And maybe, Victoria, you can tell us, how does that fit in the overall strategy of Henkel? Why this initiative especially? What kind of purpose does that fill?
Yes, so this initiative really matches our DEI aspiration. What is our DEI aspiration? This is, we would like to foster a culture of belonging, while also striving for equity to really release the full potential of our diversity. And this is where we want to go with our initiative. So it's really about offering our employees a value add, something more than just the job. So besides all the other offerings that we already have in Henkel, we want to really offer a value add to motivate them to retain our great talents, but also to attract new talents in the market. And having said that, it's also important to us to acknowledge that the young talents outside are more and more looking for policies and companies where we are supporting young families, where we are supporting to have a career, but also taking care of our family. And this work-life balance is more and more important to our young generation also. But besides that, we also have a strong conviction at Henkel that this is the right thing to do. So we are a family business, we have strong values, and we really believe it is the right thing to do to support our employees, also with their families. Because only if they are happy with also coping family and career, they will be really successful also in our company.
So DEI is also a topic of conviction, I hear you, and sometimes it's also leading to maybe people having different opinions on, how good is looking like, what life balance is about. There is not only one way to think about it. And that leads me to my second question for you. You are for sure a parent, but you are also part of a team at Henkel. And the question for you is, how was your decision received by your team, your boss, to take this parental leave? Can you tell us a few words on that?
Of course. So in general, the decision was quite nicely taken from both sides, from my boss and especially from my team as well. They were really supportive, what I'm really glad for. Yeah. And what I think is very important is to have early conversation on this topic in order to find the right timing in order to do so for both sides.
Yeah, I think you really raise a very important point, because at the end we're a team, and you never know when the baby would happen, actually. So as long as nothing is decided or in the making, but when it comes, and you cannot really negotiate the timing. But that needs to be well organized for the team as well, so that one benefit for one is not creating too big of a challenge for others, and that leads to certainly the need to have a conversation on when would be the optimal moment. Do you want to take it at once, or do you want to split it? Because that's also an option. How did you do that?
I did actually split it, yeah, because it was, for me, for both sides, it was better, I guess, yeah, because I had the opportunity to see my daughter in real life during different kind of stages. And as well for the team, it's easier to have like 4 weeks without me in the team instead of having 8 weeks as a whole directly. And yeah, I think this worked out quite nicely so far. But I have like in November, the next 4 weeks coming up. So really looking forward to that.
Okay, I can imagine. Maybe, Viktoria, you can tell us a few words on, did you feel that there were differences per region, per country, on how this initiative was received? Did you experience that? Because for sure, we are, for the ones who are watching us today, we are the three of us sitting in the headquarters in Düsseldorf. But as said in the beginning, this initiative is global, so it's for all the countries. So did you have the perception that there were different ways to receive the initiative in the world?
That's a very good question, because as you say, we have over 70 countries where we need to implement this standard that we have. Generally, I would like to emphasize that the resonance was really positive. But for sure, we had a lot of discussions and sparring also with the different regions and countries beforehand. I mean, just imagine the timing, 8 weeks. I mean, to come up with a timing like 8 weeks already requires some discussions. For some countries, this is a good timing. For others, it's not such a good timing. In some countries like the US, we already have more than 8 weeks of parental leave, but in other countries like in Asia, we have much less or even no parental leave standards. So there were for sure a lot of discussions and also different needs in the different countries. However, in general, the perception was very good, and there was a great appreciation also, and the discussion was always very positive. And as you can imagine, things always happen differently than you think. For some countries, we thought it would be really easy to implement. And then there was a lot of bureaucracy in that country. And for others, we thought this could be a little difficult. And we got the feedback from the country that it was actually very easy to implement very fast. So this is also something that was coming back.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think also for our colleagues, I think our decision was really to say, hey, let's go everywhere in all countries at the same moment, knowing that certainly there would be a few challenges here and there. And let's go also independent of what the regulations in the countries are, with the same benefit for all employees across Henkel, because this is how we believe at Henkel. Parents should have the opportunity to take care of their children independent where they live. And I think that what is beautiful in this initiative is that, as you said, sometimes it was coming on top, sometimes it was just creating a certain equality between employees that was not existing before. In some countries it was an additional benefit for fathers but not for mothers also, and I think we need to acknowledge that we have a lot of different starting points and also a lot of different challenges in the implementation. So coming back to the ones who've been benefiting from it so far, Daniel, is there any advice that you would like to give to your colleagues who don't know yet that they might want to benefit from it, but one day they will be there with the question and ask themselves, okay, should I go for it? Should I ask for it? How should I prepare that? Any tip that you want to share?
So I personally believe that this is a very individual topic, and everyone has to make their decision on their own on this perspective. Actually, on my personal side, I can only say I really enjoyed the time. I have so many great memories which I wouldn't have had if I would stay the whole time in the office. So I really could only, or I can only encourage people to take this route if they really want to do this, and yeah, it will be a great time.
Yeah, and I can only speak from experience. This time is not coming back. So if you miss the opportunity, you miss it. Having grown-up kids and having not necessarily taken, the time I would take today, if I would have to do it again, I can only say I'm very happy that the colleagues can benefit from that and that the company is giving that opportunity. But for sure, not always easy to organize, and maybe you were mentioning, Victoria, we had a few challenges. How did we overcome that? How did we make sure that a great initiative doesn't become a problem child, if I can say that?
Certainly we have had challenges, but also great learnings from the initiative. So in terms of the challenges, indeed I have to say, due to the fact that we are a global company, that we are operating in so many different countries, we needed to face so many different legal legislations and also different Henkel regulations. And this parental leave topic is per se complex. So this is something when you start to implement it in a country, it's really specific to the country, and this is something that has been complex. And I can only recommend here what helped us is to keep talking, to keep sparring, partnering, to even if necessary get back to some experts in the countries, etc. So this was very helpful. In the end, we found the solutions. Sometimes it took longer, sometimes not so long, and this was really helpful. On the other side, it's also important to have everybody on board, also from the leadership team. In our case, we were really happy that our management board and the executive teams, that they were very supportive of the initiative. However, we also needed to convince you that this is the right initiative at this point in time. Why should we support the entire family groups and not just the women whom we want to also support? Primarily also with certain initiatives, and there's a strong conviction by the DEI team that by also supporting, for example, fathers, that this will ultimately also help our women and that this will make their life easier at work as well. And there are so many studies also confirming that when a father is also helping very early on, that he will help more at later stages also. And so these were the arguments we also took upon here.
I think it's important to mention that with initiative we also try to foster inclusion, supporting mothers, fathers, single parents, surrogacy parents, adoptive parents. So it's a very, very inclusive initiative actually, and it's also certainly a step forward for Henkel, but also a step forward, we hope, for society going forward, because we also believe that when everybody can contribute and be part of, helping in the family and taking care of the children, we also change the mindset. And we also change the mindset that sometimes we might have perceived at Henkel that females are going on maternity leave, and that can be a problem for the team organization. So in the future, not only females are going on parental leave, but different sort of parents are going on parental leave. And I think that's also a way to balance out the perspective of all colleagues. That's something at least that I have observed, that it's really changing the way we talk about family responsibility and organizing the team at Henkel. So step by step, I think we also change the mindset of the colleagues in the company, which is good, because that's also what inclusion is about. So again, a great initiative for our employees, for our future employees, but also for the mindset we want to create.
And I think that's a super aspect also, Sylvie. I think we knew that this would benefit our employees, but personally, I would have not expected to have this positive resonance in our company, actually. I mean, now fathers coming to me also say from time to time and saying, you know, I talk to my friends and they are actually asking me, are you working for Henkel? This is the company actually with the new parental leave initiative. And I think that's just positive, and we can be really proud that we have such a great impact on our people here. And I mean, also people coming back, what I heard saying that we changed their life, because normally you would not have the opportunity in Latin America as a LGBTQ plus father to take parental leave for your child. So that's really positive and makes me super, super proud.
I think we can, and we can also be proud of the colleagues who make use of it, because we need also to acknowledge that maybe in certain countries, in certain teams, it's not easy to raise your hand and say, hey, I would like to take it. I remember, 10 years ago, it was existing in some countries, but employees would not necessarily use it because they were concerned about how it could be perceived by their boss, their hierarchy. So I'm very glad to hear that it was smooth for you and that you can encourage maybe other colleagues to make use of it. What was the reaction of your partner?
Of course, she was quite happy, but in her perspective, she wanted to have me being more at home, even more than the 2 months. But I think we found like a nice level for now. Like the 2 months are quite nice, and we are really happy to have this time actually together with our daughter actually. Yeah.
So I'd like to thank both of you for sharing your experience from different perspectives and remind us, all of us, that it's a real pioneering initiative. So for sure, there is no blueprint for that. We might have done mistakes even in implementation. We are learning on the journey, but I think we can be very proud as a company, as a leadership team, as employees, that we are setting the tone and we are really trying to be more inclusive and to be pioneers at heart for the good of generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.